Imagine your body whispering to you soft warnings, subtle shifts, signals you might shrug off as just stress or something I ate. But what if those whispers are actually alarms? Alarms for something much more serious, something that's silently taking lives, especially among young adults. Colon cancer isn't just an older person's disease anymore. It's now the number one cancer killer for people aged 20 to 49, and cases in those under 55 have doubled in recent years. This silent threat often gives off clues, small changes that are easy to ignore until it's too late. In this video, we're diving into the warning signs of colon cancer you should never ignore. And at the end, I'll share a simple yet surprising prevention tip you'll wish you knew sooner. Let's get into it. Changes in bowel habits. One of the earliest and most overlooked signs of colon cancer is a change in your bowel habits. Maybe you've always been regular, like clockwork, but now, suddenly, you're dealing with persistent constipation that just won't let up. Or the opposite, you're rushing to the bathroom more often with loose stools or diarrhea that feels unusual for you. These aren't just random digestive quirks. When they stick around for more than a few weeks, your body might be trying to tell you something important. Here's why it happens. The colon is responsible for absorbing water and forming stool. When a tumor begins to grow, it can interfere with this process. It might irritate the colon lining, making it secrete more water and speed things up, leading to diarrhea. Or it could act like a roadblock, slowing or even stopping stool from passing, causing constipation. Sometimes the pattern switches between both, 1 week diarrhea, the next constipation. That unpredictable flip-flop could be a sign of a partial obstruction caused by a growing mass. So, next time your bathroom routine feels off for longer than usual, pause and pay attention, because these signs are easy to ignore until they're impossible to reverse. Up next, we'll look at another sneaky symptom that might seem like good news at first, but could be a serious red flag: unexplained weight loss. Now, here's a symptom that might actually feel like a win at first. But trust me, it's one you shouldn't celebrate. I'm talking about unexplained weight loss. Imagine stepping on the scale and noticing the numbers dropping, even though you haven't changed your diet, your workouts, or your daily routine. Sounds like a dream, right? But in reality, this could be your body waving a giant red flag. Colon cancer can trigger weight loss in two major ways. First, a tumor in the colon can mess with how your body absorbs nutrients. The colon plays a part in breaking down food and pulling out what your body needs. But when a growth interrupts that process, your body may be missing out on vital fuel, and the pounds start slipping away. Second, cancer itself is greedy. Tumors release substances called cytokines, which hijack your system, redirecting your energy and nutrients to feed the tumor instead of you. So even if you're eating normally, you may start losing weight without explanation. And here's the benchmark. If you've lost 5% or more of your body weight over a few months without trying, that's a serious signal. Of course, there are many causes of weight loss, but when paired with changes in digestion or other symptoms, colon cancer must be ruled out. Weight loss might seem harmless, even welcome, but when it's not intentional, it could be a silent scream from your body that something's very wrong. Coming up, let's talk about a sign that's hard to miss and even harder to talk about, but could be the most obvious clue your body gives you. Blood in your stool. Let's talk about one of the most alarming and most important signs: blood in your stool. Now, I know it's not exactly dinner table conversation, but if you ever notice blood after using the bathroom, on the toilet paper, in the water, or streak through your stool, you need to pay attention. Bright red blood often comes from the lower part of the colon or rectum, while dark, tar-like stool, known as melena, suggests the bleeding might be higher up in your digestive system. As blood travels through the intestines, it mixes with digestive enzymes, turning it from red to a thick black color. And here's the tricky part. Blood in the stool doesn't always mean cancer. The most common cause? Hemorrhoids, swollen veins in the rectum or anus that can bleed. Another possibility? Diverticulosis, small pouches in the colon wall that can occasionally bleed. But here's the problem. People often assume it's just hemorrhoids and delay getting checked. Don't do that. Even one episode of unexplained bleeding deserves a proper evaluation. Colon cancer can bleed slowly and silently over time. And by the time symptoms become obvious, it may have already progressed. And speaking of silent signs, sometimes that bleeding happens without any visible trace at all, and that's where the next clue comes in. Iron deficiency anemia. What if your body is losing blood and you don't even know it? That's exactly what can happen with iron deficiency anemia, a symptom that often flies under the radar, but could be a sign of colon cancer hiding in plain sight. Here's how it works. When a tumor causes chronic low-grade bleeding, you might not see any blood. But over time, that slow internal loss drains your body of iron, a vital mineral needed to produce hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen. Without enough iron, your body starts to feel off. You may experience constant fatigue, weakness, pale skin, dizziness, shortness of breath. While iron deficiency anemia is more commonly linked to things like poor diet, heavy menstrual periods, or kidney disease, it can also be a red flag for hidden bleeding caused by a colon tumor, especially in men or postmenopausal women where other causes of iron loss are less likely. So if you're diagnosed with anemia, and especially if you're also experiencing other symptoms like bowel changes or fatigue, your doctor should absolutely investigate further, and that includes checking for colon cancer. Anemia might just feel like you're burnt out or low energy, but underneath, it could signal something far more serious. Next, let's explore a strange and frustrating sensation that might make every trip to the bathroom feel incomplete. A feeling of incomplete evacuation, tenesmus. Have you ever gone to the bathroom and then felt like you still had to go? That lingering, uncomfortable sensation like your body didn't quite finish the job is known as tenesmus, and it's another subtle clue that something might be wrong in your lower digestive tract. With colon cancer, especially tumors located in the rectum or lower colon, this sensation can occur because the tumor presses on the bowel wall, creating a false feeling that stool is still present, even when it's not. It can feel frustrating. You strain, you wait, and yet it still feels incomplete. At first glance, it's easy to blame on irritable bowel syndrome or stress, but if it persists for weeks, it deserves attention. Because this isn't just an annoyance, it could be your body telling you that something is physically obstructing the normal flow inside your colon. So, if you find yourself making multiple trips to the bathroom and still feeling like you're never quite done, don't ignore it. And while we're on the topic of discomfort, up next is a symptom most of us chalk up to food, but when it lingers, it could mean much more. Persistent bloating and excessive gas. We all deal with gas and bloating from time to time, after a big meal, a late night snack, or just a random food choice that didn't sit right. But what happens when that bloated feeling doesn't go away? If you're experiencing persistent bloating or excessive gas, especially without any recent changes to your diet, it could be more than just digestion. It might be a sign that something is disrupting your gut from the inside, like a tumor in your colon. Here's how that works. A large mass in the colon can act like a partial blockage, trapping gas and waste and causing swelling or discomfort. That trapped pressure builds up and leads to chronic bloating. In some cases, it also slows down digestion, giving bacteria more time to ferment food, which in turn produces even more gas. Another factor, a tumor can interfere with your gut microbiome, the balance of good bacteria in your intestines. That disruption can throw digestion off entirely and result in ongoing bloating. This isn't just an annoyance or something to blame on beans. If the bloating lasts more than a couple of weeks, especially if it's new and unexplained, it's time to talk to your doctor. And that brings us to one of the scariest truths about colon cancer. Sometimes it shows no symptoms at all, until it's dangerously late. Let's talk about why screening is your best defense. The silent danger. Why screening matters. Here's what makes colon cancer so terrifying. In its early stages, it often has no symptoms at all. No pain, no bleeding, no warning signs. By the time something feels off, the cancer may have already spread, and that drastically lowers the chances of successful treatment. That's why screening isn't optional, it's critical. In the United States, the current guideline recommends that people at average risk begin screening at age 45, and the most effective way to do that? A colonoscopy. This procedure allows your doctor to use a long, flexible tube with a camera to inspect the entire colon. If they spot any polyps, which are small growths that could turn cancerous, they can remove them right then and there, often before they ever become a problem. Yes, the prep isn't fun. Drinking a special solution to flush out your colon the night before, not exactly anyone's favorite activity. And yes, colonoscopies are done under sedation and do carry minor risks, like bleeding or perforation. But here's the truth: they save lives. Still, if the idea of a colonoscopy feels overwhelming, don't worry. There are other less invasive options. In the next part, we'll break down stool-based tests, a simpler alternative that could still catch cancer early thought if used correctly, at-home screening options, and high-risk individuals. If a colonoscopy feels intimidating, the good news is there are less invasive screening options you can do right from home. Tests like the fecal occult blood test, FOBT, or fecal immunochemical test, FEF, check for hidden blood in your stool, something you wouldn't see on your own, but that could signal a problem. There are even more advanced stool tests now that can detect DNA changes linked to colon cancer or large polyps. They're quick, painless, and require no sedation, no prep day, no hospital visit. Sounds convenient, right? And they are, but there's a catch. These tests aren't as effective at catching early-stage polyps as a colonoscopy. Plus, they must be repeated more often, anywhere from once a year to every 3 years, depending on the test. So what's the key? Choose a screening method that works for you and stay consistent. Doing something is always better than doing nothing. Now, let's talk about people who should start screening even earlier than age 45. If you have inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, a family history of colon cancer or high-risk polyps, or a personal history of certain genetic conditions, your doctor may recommend starting in your 30s or even 20s. Prevention starts now. Lifestyle changes that matter. Here's something empowering. While we can't control everything, we can make choices that significantly lower our risk of colon cancer. And with cases rising in younger people, prevention is more important than ever. So what can you do? Start with your diet. A lifestyle rich in fiber, fruits, and vegetables supports a healthy colon. Fiber keeps things moving, reduces inflammation, and may help sweep away harmful compounds in your gut before they can do damage. At the same time, it's smart to limit red and processed meats, which have been linked to an increased risk of colon cancer in multiple studies. Next, get moving. Regular physical activity doesn't just help with weight control. It improves digestion, reduces inflammation, and boosts immune function. Even moderate exercise like walking or cycling a few times a week makes a difference. Also, try to maintain a healthy weight. Obesity has been shown to increase the risk of several cancers, colon included. And of course, avoid smoking and excessive alcohol. Both are known to damage the cells in your digestive tract over time. Some studies even suggest that regular use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin may reduce the risk of colon cancer. But this isn't for everyone, and it comes with its own risks, so talk to your doctor before considering any medication for prevention. I'll be diving deeper into prevention strategies in a future video, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. But before we wrap this up, let's quickly recap the major red flags you should never ignore. Final recap and call to action. Let's quickly recap the key warning signs of colon cancer you should never ignore. Persistent changes in bowel habits, diarrhea, constipation, or both. Unexplained weight loss, especially 5% or more over a few months. Blood in your stool, whether bright red or dark and tar-like. Iron deficiency anemia, especially when fatigue and weakness come with it. A constant feeling of incomplete evacuation, like you're never quite done. Persistent bloating or gas, especially if it's new and unexplained. These symptoms might seem minor or easy to brush off, but if they last longer than a few weeks, they are not normal, and they deserve real medical attention. Remember, colon cancer often develops silently. You can't wait for symptoms to act, because by then it may be too late. Whether you go with a colonoscopy or a stool-based test, the most important thing is this: get screened, and get screened regularly. Colonoscopy remains the gold standard because it can prevent cancer by removing polyps before they become dangerous. But if you prefer a less invasive option, stool tests are a solid alternative, as long as you stay consistent. So please, listen to your body. Don't ignore the signs. Talk to your doctor get screened, and encourage your loved ones to do the same. Share this video with someone you care about. It could save a life. Because when it comes to colon cancer, early detection is everything, and awareness is the first step. Stay proactive, stay informed, and as always, let's keep looking out for each other. I'll see you in the next video where